What's good, Celtics fans? Welcome back to the Celtics Chronicle. As usual, I'm your boy, Adam Taylor, and I'm joined by Frank Garza. If you can't tell by the surname, he's Luka Garza's dad. We've been going backwards and forwards on social media throughout the season and a little bit in the DMs recently, and he's been gracious enough to kind of give me a bit of time so we can get his perspective on just a great season that Luka's had since coming into the Celtics. And just to give some backstory for anyone that was kind of tuning in late, maybe you were focused on the football season or you've been a bit focused in and out with March Madness or whatever. Luka came over having spent a few years in Minnesota and struggled off their bench, mainly because of just the talent in front of him. It wasn't because he wasn't capable. It was Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid. Those guys out in Minnesota have just got a really deep bench rotation. Before that, Luka was originally drafted to Detroit, played 32 games there as a rookie before moving over to Mini. This year has been like a huge breakout for him. He came over to the Celtics as a free agent. There was very limited expectations around not only Luka, but around the whole team. And it's kind of worked out to be this perfect position for him. Boston has done really well in developing bigs recently. So that's the backstory. Frank, I'm really grateful that you gave me some time, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Adam. I'm a fan, as I mentioned earlier. Hey, I love the lava lamp. It's
Appreciate
green in the background, man. You are totally committed. I love it. I'm a fan of lava lights myself, so I love it.
I came into this season not knowing much about Luca. I know a lot of people
Fair.
followed him in college, and we were speaking about this before we hit record. Where it's only really been this year that college basketball has been super accessible over here in the UK. So my knowledge was limited. I had people telling me he was really dominant in college, and then obviously the step up to the NBA is always an adjustment, especially for bigs. It's always a bit of a longer development time. So before we get into this year, what was that step up for Luca like? Obviously, he's kind of had to earn his stripes in the league. And what was that adjustment like for him going from being such a dominant force in college into kind of where he was in the NBA before this season?
Hmm. Well, very insightful question, Adam. Thanks for asking it. It on the one side, I'm on the one, I'm the father. I'm a father, always will be, and then on the other, I would say, Baca, my mother-in-law, on my wife's side, would say I'm the architect of his career, in terms of just his development. So for Luca at that moment in time, dominating college basketball 2 years in a row during one of the most difficult times, which was COVID, where no parents, no fans. I mean, parents could be, but no fans could be there and having to perform and the pressure of that. And so anyway, but he learned deep relationships and friendships and stuff because you had to be with your teammates for 2 years straight with, right? I mean, it was solo. So from this, to answer your question, Adam, I said to Luca, Luca, your inside game won't translate. Now listen, here's the big dude. Won every award unanimously his senior, every one, from Kareem to Pete Newell to all of them, Armstrong and Senior of the Year, all that stuff, to having his father and his architect saying this won't translate. And here we are today, Adam. You go from a prolific scorer. He's got 21. He's added a few more. It's probably 25 finishes at the rim. He has a foul shot skyhook, which is rarely seen. He has ability to score that's prolific. And yet we don't need him for that. Celtics don't need him for that. I say we collective in terms of what does the team need? He doesn't need a score. So what does he do? He has to transition into becoming an elite screener. To be so obsessed with getting Jaylen Brown open, Pritchard, Sam, now Jason, who's an incredible passer off of that, as all of them are, to then becoming an elite offensive rebounder, building on his college career, and then becoming an elite defender and quick hands to deflect and get steals and block. I mean, he blocked Wemby's shot. I don't know if you remember that in San Antonio. San Antonio, he blocked that, pinned it against the screens by just being in good position. So he had to change. I mean, it was one of those. Well, what do we do? The solution, Adam, is what do we have to change? Everything. He
What
dropped
goes
from
into that?
I was going to say he went from 272 down to 240, from 14% body fat down to 6.
So a big change.
drastic.
More is that for that's for the mobility, I'm assuming, and just being able to like control your hips a little bit better, flip your angles on screens, be able to veer screen a bit more, just that extra a bit like, and also speed, right? Being able to
Yeah.
get off the mark quicker and then control your deceleration a bit better.
Yeah. Think about it, Adam. These guards are incredible how fast they are. They are lightning quick. And they are looking not at the big, they're looking at his feet. Where's his weight? Where's his chin? Is it over the front of his feet? Well, then I can blow by him because he has to straighten his back to stand up to move his foot. So these guys are magicians out there, as you've seen and you love. And we happen to have a majority of them on the Celtics, by the way, right? In terms of just incredible scores. It's just so incredible to watch and see and whatnot. So yeah, to be able to move his feet to defend, which will win games in period.
I've pulled up his screen assist numbers for this year. So he's second on the team behind Neemi, which makes sense given Neemi's been the starting five and very similar roles. Averaging 2.4 screen assists per game, which generates 5.6 points. Now, one other aspect that he's been quite good on, better than what I would have expected as well, and I want to rank him on the Celtics for this, is his deflections. If anybody reads my newsletter, if you don't, then you should. The link will be in the description, the Celtics Chronicle.
I second that.
If anybody reads it, they know that I point out deflections as a very key statistic in terms of defensive disruptiveness and how you can control the tempo of a game by disrupting the opponent's offensive rhythm. Luka's actually been better than advertised there. So in terms of deflections, he's averaging 1.3 a game, which on the team is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's ninth on the team. And if you start going for games played, he jumps up because he'll overtake Josh Minott. Well, he wouldn't overtake him, but Minott's no longer on the team. Tillman's no longer on the team. So that brings him up to 7. You could argue that minutes played as well. Maybe you can put him in the top 5 for high usage. So what I'm getting at is not only is he being a really incredible screener, which I think has been his most underrated development this year, or at least the most underrated aspect of his game coming into the season, was just the amount of separation he creates for everybody. He's also been really active in the passing lanes, and defense was an area where a lot of Celtics fans were kind of knocking him to begin the year. Just like,
I know, right?
He's a great offensive big, but defense is going to be a problem.
Cement feet, right?
I actually think his defense has been solid as a drop big. Like he's being put in a role that works for him.
Yeah.
The Celtics do a really good job of pinching on the wings, forcing guys towards middle, and then helping off the nail. And that's kind of giving Luka an opportunity to either play up to touch or drop back and be able to contain the ball handler as they get downhill. Is that area, like, what went into his development defensively, and do you think he's taken a jump this year?
Well, great. Again, I love it. Great question. It's one I'm most proud of because defense has more to do with character than talent. You can see it all the times. These incredible athletes could move their feet faster if they wanted to. They just haven't developed, as Joe says, this skill to move them fast all the time. I mean, you could run a 4.40, Adam, but are you running that every second you're on the court? When you cross that line, are you running at 100%? Well, Luka must. He must, because as I want to say, he had the worst combine score, probably of not all time, but probably right around there. But it doesn't measure intangibles and things like that. But so let's talk about what your question was which had to do with defense. We set a goal for the summer. One was to add 10 pounds of muscle, which we did, so that he could stop guys at the rim. When he hits them with his chest, they bounce backwards now. Some fall when he sets a screen. Some guys crumble down. I mean, they literally fall down. Why? It's a legal screen, and he's that strong. The other was to make his hands that of a black belt. We're not quite there, but we're getting closer. That's to be able to move your hands 3 inches with lightning speed. Kind of where Jaylen Brown is and what he practices. So we've instituted that. We did a lot of work in the pool. So it was less wear and tear on the body. And it was equal distribution of weight, which will grow all the muscles around the knee, ankle, toes, and all the bones, which I think are 71, 72, that need to be developed because you need to have the weight on the balls of your feet. And then out of the 5 workouts, one being just the inner game of basketball, as Lincoln said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So you do that in your mind. How do I want to be come the season start? What's my imprint? Things like that. So a lot of that. But the fourth and last practice of the day was 99 possessions on defense, never shooting the ball as a practice. I had coaches, even at Georgia Tech, come and say, "So when does Luka shoot? I want to see him shoot." I said, "Well, we don't do that on the last workout of the day. We do 5 a day." Because we had to go how do you go from 270 to down to 242, lean 6%, which is the 3 years at Minneapolis. How do you do that? Well, that's how it's done. Sacrifice and consistency with the work, with the premium on defense, and hands, quick hands is a function of that. Being in the passing lane, being able to make steals, and this team is great at defense. So he's surrounded around a team that takes pride in defense. They take pride in, and they get upset if someone scores. You see that they get upset if someone scores. So does coach, but they get upset. You scored on me. That's not going to happen again. And so, I benefited from great coaches that are in heaven now, and they taught me things about defense and in the game that allowed me to play at Division I and small Division I, but still be able to excel because of the fundamentals of the game as opposed to just talent.
You can see the fundamentals in Luka's game as well, the timing being a very key one, knowing when to slip his screens, knowing when to pop off of them, understanding like the space that he's in. And one of the reasons I kind of like the way this is transitioned is because the next section I wanted to talk about was just his fit within the offense and how he's been, especially before the addition of Vucevic, which we'll get to. He's been the perfect backup for Neemi because he brings the floor spacing that Neemi doesn't. He gives you that pick and pop threat. He gives you a guy that can create on the elbow when he's like, if you're running like DHOs and you want him to like set a rip screen for someone, then pop out, receive a handoff, and then shoot the ball, he can do that. He's got that 3-level scoring ability. And we've only really seen a 2-level this year. It's been around the rim and it's been on the perimeter. We don't really see much mid-range from him because you've got Jaylen Brown to do that. You've got Jason Tatum, Derek White, whatever
Exactly.
it may be. But he's definitely like showing fundamentals in terms of his footwork's been excellent, his timing's been excellent, and then the perimeter shooting has just been such an added bonus after losing Porzingis and Al Horford. And that feels like you were talking about when he was in college, you had to explain to him his game wasn't going to translate. That feels like one of the biggest leaps. Has he always been able to shoot this well from deep, or is that something that he put a lot of work into both during the summer after he signed in Boston and throughout the season?
Yeah, great question. By the way, I just want to back up and say you're so right on the inside. I just want to point it out to anyone listening, which is if you take Luka's minutes played compared to his screens, he's number one, but Nimi has double the minutes, and he should. By the way, phenomenal athlete and even a better person. You can't be a phenomenal player, not be a phenomenal human being, and that's what Mr. Keita is, and I mean that sincerely, as is every athlete that's been professional that this organization has found and went to work. So to answer the question is abso-freaking-lutely. I was a phenomenal shooter. I still am. I may probably beat anybody right now shooting, and I only shoot with one hand from the free throw line. I mean that sincerely at the free throw line. But it's make it if you miss, you're out. That's the kind of game I play where every shot has a consequence. That's the only way I'll shoot. I'm not into stamina. I'm not shooting 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, right? But you want to go shoot, you miss, put the pressure on the cooker, let's go. So Luka is now right now. Hold on, he's right now. Hey, big fella. So I'm on a podcast right now, and so are we recording? No, you can.
Yeah, we're
exit it,
recording.
but anyway, from the guy, gentleman Adam, I told you about from the UK. Anyway, how are you doing? my wife's side, her father was incredible.
We were talking about whether Luka's 3-point shooting was something that
Oh
he
yeah, it's
had in
great.
the
Hey,
bag
listen,
or
he
he had to
should
work
be.
on.
My opinion, I think he'll break 50%. We shot, and it's been recorded on Noah Basketball Plug for them, which is very much like the, if I can, Wimbledon technology. When something's out, it's not determined by a human eye, it's determined by all these geocentric. Well, that's what Noah Basketball does: shoot, track every shot you take, your accuracy, the all the different angles, short, width, that even if it's a perfect shot, which will surprise you, the angle, not just a drop down. So it's a great learning tool. If like any tool, you've got to use it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, he shot in those 4 years prior to the Celtics, 42,000 shots, and the guy nearest him was over 12,000 shots away. The majority of those were 3%, shooting at over 78% on average. Now, the excellent research team of Boston, you can find that stat out. Now, when you think about a guy that Luka just passed his entire minutes just 2 games ago that he'd ever played the previous 4 years in the NBA. Could you imagine practicing more than any other basketball player at a factor of 10 to 12,000 shots a year and not getting any minutes? So again, basketball reveals a person's character. And I think people are seeing it in Boston where he's given an opportunity to do it. Not like Coach Finch, who I have great respect for that entire organization, Mr. Conley, the GM, president, phenomenal, the ownership, everything, just excellence. But they had 4 deep. I mean, you had Randall, you named the other three, but now you have Julius Randall, a beast. And I mean that with the ultimate respect. He is unstoppable when his will is aligned with what his body can do. So anyway, he had no time to do it, and he went down the G League, averaging 47 and 70 rebounds. It was a joke. Not, I don't mean that disrespect to the other players, but that league is for development of talent. Luka's ready, plug and play. Put me in. Let's go, let's play. But
That
come
makes
in
me
and
wonder.
go ahead, please.
What was the conversation with you like when he was a free agent and the Celtics called? Like, what was that conversation leading up? Because I'm assuming you two seem, and from the outside looking in, obviously incredibly close. You've talked about the work you put in with him as well. So I'm assuming it was a conversation where he might have asked for your opinion, or you may have kind of weighed the pros and cons. What was that like before he decided to join Boston?
Well, it's another great question. Of course, early on, I encouraged Luka, and he has a board of directors for his career and what's going on. He talks to everyone, but certainly, there's a father-son relationship that's unique because it bridges into his development as a coach, in terms of the game. And he has many great development coaches, as evidenced here in the Celtics. But I have a unique perspective about the game, particularly handwork and things like that are very unique in sand, sea. I call it the Tarzan Initiative. It's jungle work, it's sand, it's sea, it's hanging, it's swinging, and doing functional strength. Can you do a one-handed pull-up? Can you do a fingertip pull-up? 2 fingers, index fingers. Can you do functional strength? Balance yourself on one hand, hold yourself, do a slow deceleration step, take a hit, and lay it in. Well, you see the results of what I call the specificity of the game, which is the little things make the big things happen. Fundamental. See, pressure in the game reveal your practice habits. What can be accomplished on purpose cannot be achieved by accident when it comes to the game, and truly, truly in life with that. So again, I forgot the question. Was that number 53? What did I answer it, or did I get all off the mark,
You
baby?
kind of you in a roundabout way. So I was saying, what was the conversation like between you and
Oh,
Luka before?
as a free agent, it was this.
Yeah, when the Celtics
As
came
we've
calling.
always had, is trust the process. It's all about in life belief without evidence. And the belief is that if I do the things at the highest level that I'm capable of, that good things will happen. The harder I work, the luckier I will get, or I will be, excuse me. And so that's always been our motto. And again, with the support of Coach Finch and the people at Minnesota, which we dearly love. We love the mid, the Big Sky. I mean, the Big Ten Conference. Iowa. That old people just so earth. Just real people. Not like they're not anywhere else, but just they're special. Iowa nice, as they say. And it's as the Field of Dreams movie. It's our Field of Dreams. With all that. But in terms of that. What we said was we just need a shot, and
Yeah.
and we have great agents at Priority Sports. They're no bigger fans of Luka's character and what he could do than the folks there, Kieran and of course Mark and the rest of the staff there. And so we knew something good would come because they know how to speak to that. Because Luka's not just a player. If you look at him as a player, get out of here. You're not even get out. You're not even a league. You stink it up, as some of the people said. But Luka's a solution. Luka's a unicorn. And what I mean to say, Adam, is there's only one number 52 in the entire league. And while Luka honored me and my family wearing my college number 55 through high school and college, in fact, it's retired in the state of Iowa. I think the first NCAA player whose jersey was retired during the season. And now with the Celtics, what's unique about this relationship and how it all has occurred is that he's went from honoring that to 52 triumphing, being a triumph, a badge of honor to prove that you belong if you can become a solution and a situational solution, stretch the court, play defense, deflect, offensive rebounding. Even if you can't get it, tap it out, make something happen, get your teammate open, take a charge. He leads the NBA in charges for a big. And you may have to fact quote me on that, but it was that way for some years now. He hasn't taken one in some games. It's very hard, but he's been that way for years per possession played, by the way, and minutes, etc. Where he leads if you add in rather minutes played, what's his efficacious numbers per minute? And he's a bucket a minute per average, and these deflections and the rest. So anyway, all that added up. What did we do? We worked even harder last summer. It was our greatest summer together. He has a team now. We have Jared Cruz, who works for the Maine Celtics, by the way. I want to shout out to Jared Austin for he used to work there the year before and helped Austin actually help Jared get the job. Some other folks around the DMV, which is Washington, D.C., which is where he was Gatorade Player of the Year and a lot of fans. So anyway, you work out now professionally with 5-6 people there. So you can, to the extent possible, mimic game because you only play in a manner that you practice.
Yeah, that's fair. You hear a lot of players talk about that, as in like Peyton Pritchard does it as well, right? He flies guys in
Oh
and he
man,
pays them to play against him
all of
because
those guys do.
they want that pressure. Lucas seems no different, which kind of leads it on with pressure. Now the Celtics have rounded out their roster. They got one open roster spot right now, but
Right.
they did get Vucevic back, who they acquired in February. When Vuce came, Luka's minutes kind of dwindled a little bit because Vuce kind of stepped into that second big man role. And then obviously Nikola breaks his finger on his right hand, misses 14 games, and Luka absolutely shines. He had some really big games during that 14-game stretch. Now Vuce is coming back. I know that I remember reading somewhere that, and if I could remember the interview, I'd obviously give credit to whoever it was, but they were saying that Luka was like he's just going to stay ready and maximize the minutes that he gets. And now that Vuce is back and we're only 4 games left until the postseason, what goes into that for Luka, knowing that he's proven himself, but also understanding that now there's a veteran in front of him that may not be on the team beyond this season anyway? What goes into staying ready, but also being able to humble yourself enough to understand that that's the position you're in for now, but it might not be the position you're in next season?
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you asked the question, Adam, because it's so relevant. I mean, Luka was a DNP last night, and you look at what he's done. and arguably there's a, just, get out there. And yet my college coach shared this with me. It'll hopefully reveals just some of the great wisdom that I have based on coaching, not because I'm as dumb as a donkey, I'm Captain Dummy, I mean, a rock sees more than me. Okay. And so the point is that the quote he always wrote on the board, before the game was give up to win. And when you're playing, you're like, oh yeah, hey, go. Well, as you get older, you go, wow, give up to win. If you were to say that, what were the final words you'd ever say to someone? Give up to win, because this is a giver's game. You have to give it away to keep it. You can't hold on to it. You have to just give it away to keep it. And in the team environment, Adam, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And Vooch is a maestro. He's a master, like in chess, a master grand player, grandmaster chess player. I remember him at USC, those long arms and that great athleticism coming from that region of the country. I mean, Alexander the Great, Montenegro, gorgeous. I mean, just fabulous people, by the way. My wife's Bosnian, so from Sarajevo. Luka's half Bosnian, by the way. We'll be playing. Well, I don't want to say anything about that, but anyway. So happy he's on the team. I mean, it's like, what are you saying, Frank? That's so what? Yeah, why? How much can we learn from Vooch? And so Luka and Vooch talk a lot. Like he asked him, hey, what would you do against this team? You've been in the league so long. You're this and that. You're an all-star. So happy for that. We need him to win the championship. This is a unique combination of things at the right time, and allows Luka to grow and see and learn. I mean, he's young. Well, he's only our 5th year in the league, and his legs are strong. Because why? Even though we practice more than everyone else, and that takes a toll. It was an NBA leg, knee, ankle, toe, phalange strain, right? It was, working out at night, and things like that. So anyway, I don't want to take away from that, but there's nothing like game ready speed, which is why Luka was a DNP. Because of that. Now, I mean, there's a thing, we call in our family, there's such a thing as unconditional commitment.
Okay, I like that. That makes sense.
There's no conditions. We're unconditionally committed to winning for this city, for this his teammates, for his coach, for Brad, for they gave him the shot from Conley and Finch that believe in him. When others would just, if you just looked at him from physicality, you just laugh. He's a solution, and situationally, I think he's now have a body of evidence given the time. Now he's got in an elite category. In these categories where reveals the kind of player he is.
I think that one aspect, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and it was just like a fan, just a friend that we were talking about, a friend based in Boston. And the conversation came up as like, do you think that joining Boston not saved Luka's career, but added some additional time for him to remain in the league and keep earning bigger roles? And whether that's in Boston long term, whether that's elsewhere. And if you look at like the proof that he's made this year, the performances he's shown, the growth that he's shown, his ability to adapt to a completely different system, it does feel like no matter what happens in Boston between now and the end of his contract at the end of next season, there's going to be other teams interested now, because he's taken the opportunity and completely ran with it and performed at a much higher level than a lot of people expected. And part of that now will be, how does he maximize the minutes with Vooch in the rotation? And as you mentioned, what can he take away from Vooch, especially if Vooch leaves in the summer and that backup spot opens up for Luka for an entire season?
Yeah, well, that's like a triple smash question there, Adam. Good work.
Yeah, I just wanted to fit it in there. Last question.
Whoa. I mean, oh my gosh. So I'm okay with you saying saving. Because, but it's not obviously Luka has he's ready to he's got a God willing a long life in the NBA, and then I know he wants to get over to Europe and at some point. So anyway, this was a matter of us trusting the process. So yeah, we will be forever grateful, marrow deep for the intelligence of the Celtics and the support of Minnesota. And I would think even some of the folks there in Detroit were that was a tough because COVID, right? I mean, there's a lot of different situations that Luke was learning, and he was still 265 in the NBA. Are you kidding me? So we just so a tribute to the league that and those that recognize the intangibles. And while Adam, they're intangible, they are empirical. So you can't win a championship without a Luka spirit. I mean, look at every Celtics team. There was a guy, all of them were, but there was some just went out, just sacrifice their body, just do whatever it took, take a charge. I still remember David Cohen, that dive and just skinning himself on the parquet, and I just remembered that love for the game and love for your team is winning. So anyway, not anyway. I'm just so happy that that body of evidence now exists, because I agree he's a solution and people now see it. We have not seen the last of his shooting. What I think he can learn from Vooch, whether he's here or not. But I would say that I still think there's a way to have a trifecta of bigs
Yeah,
that
for sure.
when it comes to load management will preserve our championship run and will allow Kada to continue to dominate and save his legs for longevity and for playoff time, and for Luka to grow in confidence. Hey, what would it look like if Pritchard set a screen on a 7-footer and Luka took a three off a dribble, being the leading best big shooter in the league?
The thing is, Joe Mazzulla's crazy enough to do it. They've ran inverted screening actions a
Hey, I
bunch
wouldn't
over
say
the
it's
years.
crazy. I'd argue that's smart. The best shooter big in the league. Or you wouldn't want to get him more shots. Hello.
And most likely on a switch against the guard to have that too. If you're running the
Exactly.
inverted, yeah,
Well,
that
how
makes a
about
ton of
having
sense.
Kada set a screen on Luca's man, or Vooch, or go double big, which once they get used to playing that, they haven't a chance to do that. What would that look like with Vooch there, Luca's passing ability, or Vooch's vice versa on Luca's post game? Impossible to stop. And I think Joe, because he seeks excellence, could see that and develop that into something next year that would be, who is
Incredible.
going to defend that? You got that many guys playing. What big on another team has the stamina when you got three of those guys going at full speed blast? And I'm telling you right now, nobody.
Do you know what I like the most?
Tell
Is
me.
the ability to mix and match what you need in a single game. And one of the good things about this rotation is, and we spoke about this on an episode the other day. You even messaged me and said you enjoyed watching it, where we spoke about whether Vooch and Garza there was too much of an overlap. And what we kind of got to was each guy, including Nimi, gives you a very specific skill set that can interlink with each other rather than overlap. So Vucevic is going to give you the post passing. Garza's going to give you the screening and the pick and pop. Nicola can give you the pick and pop. Nimi gives you the rim running. And as you say, you can run a double big that way because all three of them are high IQ guys. Now, one of my biggest detractions from a double big is I like, and this is just a preference for me, and I'm not coaching an NBA team, so this preference can get thrown out the window with everybody else's. But I like multiple decision makers on the floor that can handle the rock and put pressure on the defense, which is kind of like why I tend to prefer a single big rotation. But if you've got an elite screener and an elite rim runner, or an elite screener and an elite post passer, with both of them able to shoot the three, that double big becomes really scary when the other three guys on the floor are Derek White, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
And
why
that's
not
what
save
I
their
like.
legs? Yeah, no, I love it. And why not save their legs? Because now punish those that are going small ball. Punish them. Don't surrender your advantage. Punish them and save Jalen's legs and Tatum. And then they're shooting 75%. I'm probably throwing sort of too much, but 60% from the floor. Why? They're wide open shots, and they don't have to take the. I've seen it up close, man. The brutal fouls that no one can see because they're so fast. But you can see the impact, the scars, the rips, the tears on the skin, just like, oh my God, it looked like a knife cut. But no, it's someone's quick hand just cutting through. So imagine if they didn't have to just dribble and pound their way through, because why? We buried them inside, and now they're fouled out. Now it's a bunch of small guys. Now the big guys rest, and they just go in there and just kill them. So anyway, I think this cathedral of excellence, which is how I define Boston Celtics. This, from the, even Mr. Ainge, as the assistant GM, who I had the pleasure of meeting, and Coach Joe and the rest, and even Coach, Mr. Stevens. Hard not to call him Coach, right? Adam, from his incredible coaching and
Fantastic coach.
I mean, just a grand master in the game. But just, they will figure it out, because the game is now evolved where every possession counts. Those are the most possessions and the highest efficiency win, period. It's an easy macroeconomic way of the game. Who has the most possessions? Well, generally those most of the possessions win.
If you can win the possessions, and that's been like Joe Mazzulla's whole thing, right? Maximize the possessions and maximize the output on each possession, and you're going to
win each possession. In the art of the game is staying in the present moment. That's the inner game of basketball. There's no future tripping. Are you running back because you missed the shot, thinking about it? Your guy gets the ball, scores, and he dunks on it because you're playing, a minute in the past. And the game is played in the present moment, because that's where the solutions are presented with. And that's what is taught here, which is making the decisions once a play is ran. That is basketball IQ. And this organization, again, has a way of teaching it. And I'm talking about from Joe, I just excellent. I mean, the cathedral of excellence. Here it is, baby. And we're just so privileged and honored to say we're a Celtic.
I think that is a perfect place to end this interview. So I just want to say thank you for jumping on. Everybody, make sure to go show Frank some love on socials. He's just doing a great job spreading the word about Luka Garza. Obviously, you'd expect that from a father-son duo. I'm a parent. I'd be doing exactly the same if my daughter was in the WNBA. Really appreciate you giving us the time. I'm really excited to see what Luka does in the postseason, and then, all being well, next season as well. So again, thank you very much, Frank.
Hey, from your lips to God's ears. And again, thank you. A privilege to be on your show as well.